thing. Even in general in yeshiva, you get a morning seder, Rebbe, you got one viewpoint, you got an afternoon or two, 3, 4, was very short of a night seder. This gives you a chance to hear a lot of different ideas. We have Rosh Hashanah coming up, we have Yom Kippur coming up. And this gives us the opportunity, please God, to go in properly with the proper kavanot, the proper preparations, and that way, in doing so, hopefully we'll be able to make this year an amazing year. Yamim Noam should be that, a days of experience, days of value, and I'm somewhere here my question.
I got you.
All right. You're protected. So I'm going to start with a light question just to warm up, and after I ask a few questions, I'm going to open up the panel for students' questions. How's everybody doing tonight? First of all, guys, you got to do better, even in space. All right, everybody doing fine? Let's get started. Okay, favorite holiday growing up? I just want you to give me one very quick answer. Favorite holiday growing up? What did you like? Why did you like it? We'll start from right to left. Rav Simi, my right.
This is favorite holiday growing up or now?
Growing up.
Growing up. I think growing up, my favorite holiday was Pesach because it was very family oriented. I got together with all my cousins who I generally didn't get to see, so I really enjoyed everybody getting together. And obviously, Seder was very exciting. My grandfather had a challenge that if you could bite a single strip of matzah, he would give you $20, which back in the 80s was a lot of money. Meaning you could nibble off a single strip from the entire length of a square machine matzah, which is very, very difficult. And if you could do it on a handmade circular matzah, he would give you $100. And there was a legend that my aunt had once done it, even though there's no evidence to prove it. But that was my favorite holiday.
All right. Rav Gerzi.
My favorite holiday is Christmas. Sorry. Wrong place, yes.
I'll never feel bad about anything I ever say ever again.
Baruch Hashem, everyone does tshuva when around me. So, I always have issues, to be honest, with these. What's my favorite? I would say Purim. I love Purim growing up, and I love Purim now.
Say my favorite holiday growing up is probably Pesach, probably because my birthday half the time fell out on Pesach, so I got presents. So.
And now let's take the question one step further. The more mature you, what do you prefer? So would you still say Pesach?
I think I've gotten more mature, so I like Purim best now.
Okay.
No, mostly because I think the ideas behind Purim are the ideas that connect to me the most. They take a while to explain that here, but
when we talk about Purim, when we do this again before Purim, we'll do this. Okay. All right.
I would agree for myself as well. I love Purim.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really like Purim. It's too much drunkenness for me, particularly around 18-year-old boys. So I don't really enjoy that. But that's a separate discussion we can have when we get closer to Purim. But it's difficult. I don't know. Everybody, that's a separate discussion. But my favorite holiday now, if we had to pick a favorite, is Hanukkah. But it's for a very particular reason. It's kind of an Israel reason, is that I find, and this is maybe something you guys will feel over the course of the year, is that in Chutz La'aretz, it's very hard to feel special days that don't have an Isser Malacha. So like in America or anywhere else in Chutz La'aretz, you know how to celebrate Shabbos, you know how to celebrate Yantiv, but a day that doesn't have an Isser Malacha kind of gets lost in the fold. There's no Lag BaOmer in America, there's no Tu B'Shvat in America, there's very little Hanukkah. Not that people don't celebrate them and technically fulfill the mitzvos, but once you graduate high school and you no longer have the assembly during school and you go off to work, so you just go to work. And, there's no Yom Ha'atzmaut, Yom Yerushalayim. They're not days you could really attach yourself to because you have to go to work like everybody else. So when you live in Eretz Yisrael, so your entire life revolves around the Jewish calendar, and Hanukkah is a great example where it's mamish a holiday here in Israel. So it's a great opportunity to connect to a day without an Eser Malacha, but you can connect to because you're in Eretz Yisrael. So Hanukkah for me right now is pushing towards the top of my list.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and all this is to lead up to the real question. I know that for myself, any davening was too much davening growing up. Even if was heavily sedated or medicated with vitamin R, it just wasn't, davening didn't speak to me. We have Rosh Hashanah, we have Yom Kippur. How did you enjoy Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur as a kid, and how have your feelings changed?
Can I ask a question to the moderator?
Yeah, sure.
What is vitamin R?
Anyone want to help him out? Ritalin, there we go. Okay. I was prescribed on Ritalin long before it's being handed up like Tic Tacs because of incompetent teachers. Okay, so yeah, that's who I am. Nobody here in my share is surprised, right? Okay, good. All right, so let's go back to the question. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, hyperactivity. No. The deficit, attention deficit. No, we're talking about Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. What is the purpose? As a child, how did you react to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? And has that changed? Any open question? We'll start with Rav Gerzi. Just because you sit in the middle doesn't mean you.
Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. So, whereas maybe other people have matured, I don't know, I'm still a kid. I find, and I've always found so far in my life, any extended time in front of an open text bothers me. So from a very young age until now, really that's the same challenge. What I have always enjoyed from a young age, and what I enjoy still today, are the tunes. I enjoy the tunes. So, you take certain common tunes within our diverse communities. A group of people singing together with their eyes closed and being present. That I could manage to do from a little kid, and I can still manage to do that now. That's I'd say, the challenges that I faced when I was younger, and I still face them today, but the singing I enjoy.
Still enjoy.
Certain tunes, yeah.
Okay. Johnny?
I'd say that as a kid, I didn't particularly necessarily connect to davening per se on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, but I always enjoyed sitting next to my father in shul, for particular amounts of time. And I think one of the problems that we all face in the school systems that we're brought up in is that we're kind of taught one mode of tefillah as kids. You ask God for what you need, and we never really are taught a more mature, more theologically honest form of tefillah. And as I've explored these things for myself and come to connect to tefillah more on a not just an emotional level, but also on an intellectual level, because I think to do just one and not the other, you end up failing yourself. I've come to enjoy davening on a much, much deeper level. And if you want me to go into that, I can right now. Okay, so I think that we all have challenges with the idea that Kadosh Baruch Hu is interested in our tefillot. Like, if he's God and he's infinite and he's all powerful, why does he care what I have to ask for? And what, I'm going to change what he's going to do? He's going to change the way in which he behaves, his will in this world, because I asked for it? And I think just on a very basic level, we have an issue with that. It doesn't seem to make sense. There are many, many different approaches to this, but the one that I think is the easiest to really understand how tefillah works, the Ramchal points out that tefillah isn't about changing what God has in store for you. It's about changing you so that the person who is asking is a different person. That before you were person one, and through tefillah you're supposed to change into a better version of yourself. And maybe that person that you change into is now the person who deserves what you're asking for. So tefillah really isn't about asking God so much as it is about you changing into the person that God wants you to be. And that I connect to more.
Simi?
So the truth is that I just got an email about a book that just came out about I think probably everybody in our room would call this person their Rebbe, even if you never met him before. You would have to call him your Rebbe. And that is somebody by the name of Rabbi Meir Zlotowitz, who was the founder of ArtScroll. He just passed away about a year ago. I got an email that they just came out with a biography about his life, which I haven't gotten my hands on yet, but I'm sure it's great. Actually, his great-nephew lives right here in Ein Gedi, Yossi Platnik. So if you ever get to meet the Platnik family live here, it's a great uncle. So Rabbi Zlotowitz had a dream once, and he founded an organization called ArtScroll, and probably every one of us has been an extraordinary beneficiary of that. And who here has not had given access to some Sifrei Kodesh as a result of ArtScroll? Like, have any of us? So I remember very distinctly after my bar mitzvah, I got an ArtScroll machzer for Yom Kippur. So when I was 14, for the first time I used that, and I've used the same machzer every year since for the last 20 plus years. And even though I could upgrade, I don't want to upgrade because I like it, because I remember I got it like for my bar mitzvah. When I came to Israel for the year, I was Shana Aleph, when I was your age, I went to go splurge and I bought an ArtScroll Rosh Hashanah machzer. I don't know what I did until then, but I probably didn't know what was going on. So those two events in my life probably changed Yom Noraim davening for me. Can't say that I wasn't doing the page counting thing where you count how many more pages and then divide by 2 because the English, right? You've all done that? Everybody's done that? Still, I try not to do it like when I'm here and sitting in the front of the room. I don't want you guys to see me doing it, but you may catch me a little bit sneaking to do that. But I still do that a little bit. And like Rav Gerzi said, the songs obviously is what makes it feel more interactive, and certainly that's something in Mirz Hashem you'll get here in the Beis Medrash with all the great Balei Tefillah, unbelievable Balei Tefillah, all the Rebbeim in Yeshiva daven. So you'll have Rav Siv and you'll have Rav Kolas. It's unbelievable. But more than just the tunes, which I agree 100% with Rav Gerzi, is once I started to understand what the words meant, it was like a total game changer. Not that suddenly davening was easy and it was simple to sit for 2, 3, 4 hours, but it's like a basic requirement. If you don't have an ArtScroll or an English translation or a Koran nowadays, if you don't have English translation in front of you, so forget it. Like it's just not going to happen. I don't see how anybody could connect if you don't even know what the words mean. So I think that was a real change for me. And if you haven't done that yet, so I think it's a worthwhile thing to look into. Get an ArtScroll or a Koran or whatever other translations they have nowadays, and just to be able to translate Malchios, Shofros, Zechronos. I have no idea what these paragraphs mean, and all of a sudden you read them and you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I can connect to that a little bit, and you'll find things here and there that you can connect to. So that was a big change for me, and I think that's sort of an eighth I would give to people. It's very simple, it's kind of obvious, but I think it's something that would help people a lot. That's all.
I think for me the game changer was when I got accepted to YU, and I had gone through every year of my life in whatever format I was doing Yamim Rayim, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. Again, not knowing what was going on, but the horns sounded cool, and you read through it, and I remember in grade 13 there was once something that was grade 13. Canadians know, you know what I'm talking about, Canadians. Come on, yeah. We're the boys. All right, here we go. Woo. All right, there was once in grade 13, and the teacher gave a shir. Did you know there are 10 psukim about Malchiot and 10 psukim about Shofar and 10 psukim about Zichronot? And I'd never known that. And I've had 3 people already tell me this year that they want their money back from their 12 years of day school education because they come here either not being able to speak Hebrew, not being fluent in text, and they're wondering, well, how did they spend all this time? I remember that's the first time I'd ever had that feeling because, so that's how the tefillah works. I get it now. It starts to, there's an idea, it's not just, it makes sense. There's something to do. So I was going to YU, and being the pretentious nerd that I was back then, now, depending on your point of view, I decided, okay, I have to read a book by Rabbi Soloveitchik. And I remember the first time I'd opened up, and so our first book I opened was a book on repentance. And this was Torah on Teshuva. Like, this was amazing. I'd never seen Lamdus, Brisker Lamdus, the serious learning, the Chakiras and the Brisker learning, Kiyum versus Mas and everything, with in-depth Parshanut of Tanakh, with incredible psychology of how humans function, all in a small little book. And that book changed, So for the next 2-3 years, I didn't really daven from Machzor. I would just I'd follow along in Machzor, I'd have a book to read, that would be the book I would sneak in. And it's a bad minhag in our family. We all like to learn while we daven, and to this day my children do that, and I can feel hope of correcting them, and I'm doing the same thing. I try to keep my learning to Chazar to Shas. I know that's not appropriate. Maybe this year I'll do better. I'll figure out how to do tshuva. So we have Rosh Hashanah, we have Yom Kippur, and we have Sunday coming up, an empty day, and I'm going to give all three of you a gift. I'm giving you, for participating, 1 free hour to prepare. You have 1 hour, extra hour that you earn. What will you do with it? You get 1 free hour to prepare for Rosh Hashanah. What will you do? Who wants to start, or? I'll tell you what I would do is that I remember I've been doing this ever since I read about people who argue cases in front of the Supreme Court. People argue cases in front of the Supreme Court when the lawyer gets the opportunity. It's a big honor it's a big honor to go before 9 of the smartest justices, 8 right now, and be shredded alive, and to be. But these people, every word, every mannerism, everything they practice for weeks on end. If you're arguing a case in court, you're shut down for a month, and you are practicing every single motion, every line. You're going through everything. And when I read that, I said that's exactly what I should be doing with Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. You take just some time, read the tefillah beforehand, make the plan. In the halacha is against the Rambam that we have to move far to Chatayim. We don't do it publicly, but you write out in Gush the minhag that Rav Meidan teaches his students is write out a list of your own al-chetz. You don't write out a list of all the sins that you read and none of them are relevant to you. Okay, like at age 15, for all my sins of forbidden relations. Forbidden relations. I was friends with a Montreal Canadiens fan. That's as far close as it came. Nothing personal. Okay, but I wasn't, there was nothing like that, and it didn't speak to me. So Rav Meidan always taught us, you write out your own list. These are just guidelines, structure. You get ready, but you prepare what you have to say. You have an hour. What will you do with it? We'll start with Rav Johnny.
That would probably be part of the hour. Just cheshbon nefesh, self-reflection on what I need to work on. Sometimes our time is so stretched thin that we don't have time to really think about those things, and any moment that we really do is very precious. I also probably learned my favorite sefer on tshuva, Orot Teshuva from Rav Kook. The reason for that is that it completely opened my mind, blew me away on the perspective of tshuva that it has that we don't normally see in other places. The tshuva. I want to ask you guys a question. Who hears about tshuva? Okay, we have 1, 2, 3. I have 5 hands and 6 hands up. And thank you guys for raising your hands. And I think it's a shame that we all don't raise our hands. Because if we view tshuva as something that we do only because we've done a particular chait, that we're missing the point. Tshuva is leshuv el Hashem. It's to return to God. And even if you're a perfect tzaddik, you still have work to do. And we all need to understand that in order to really do tshuva, to really accept tshuva. It's not just about fixing a particular sin, that you stole this, or you didn't come to davening on time, or you didn't focus during davening. We all have to do that too. But we have to do tshuva on the way in which we view tshuva, and that's what that sefer taught me.
What would I do? I'd probably this involves babysitting. You've organised the babysitters. The
Hands
food,
up, anybody? Anybody?
The food. You've organised
go.
all the family stuff. Yeah. Okay.
He said he's going to do it for us.
You said you. Oh, okay. Good. Even better.
I have no kids at home. I don't remember what to do. But if you want to trust them with me, they'll come back talking funny and playing hockey. But
So I'll probably, if I had an hour free, I'll probably go to the mikveh, maybe do some stretching, and in the mikveh, I would. I'll daven for people. I've got some notebooks with. Probably daven for people. That's what I'll do. Yeah.
Simi?
I don't know. I guess I'll tell you one thing I did was a good thing I did once before Rosh Hashanah. So I just put on a piece of paper, little piece of paper, just the names of things I wanted to daven for. So I had a friend who was older and not married, so I just wrote. I didn't want to write his name on a piece of paper in case somebody found the piece of paper, so I put his initials. And I had a different friend who was having a very difficult time with his wife, and his marriage wasn't in such a good place, so I put his name down on a piece of paper in code. And I knew different people, and I just made a list of things I was going to daven for. So I don't know if it'd take a full hour, but that's something I would recommend everybody to do. Before you walk into Rosh Hashanah, have a little piece of paper with you in your pocket. And what are you davening for? What do you have to worry about this year? So that's something. What else would I do? I would not go stretching with Gerzi in the mikveh. I'm not going to do that.
I never said stretching in the mikveh.
You didn't invite me, that's the truth. You didn't invite me, so. I would probably read the Rambam's Hilchos Teshuva. That's my favorite this time of year thing to read. Rambam's Hilchos Teshuva is very, very good. I would recommend it highly. Maybe I would do that. I don't know if I could finish that in an hour. I don't think, but I could at least start the first couple questions.
Well, I hope you're enjoying the different range of responses that we have here. First of all, and also different range of books and things that inspire. It's important to realize, one of the things we're trying to do is show the breadth, the variety, how Torah can be approached and how different people have found a path that works. One of the things that I find in common with a lot of what's been said is one of the great things to do before Rosh Hashanah, and this has been said explicitly or explicitly just recently, is get out of that egocentric zone, what do I need and what do I want, but rather taking time and saying, is there anybody, is there a friend, is there a family member to, just to take time, say take 10 minutes, as you mentioned, write notebooks of people, write papers, and think about, who else can I be davening for? And sometimes that actually helps your own davening, because just by breaking yourself, that it's not just all about me. There's other people, and I think it's an amazing thing that you said. By the way, I'm expecting at some point in time to be able to open the floor. So if you are thinking of questions already, and that's great. If not, start to think of questions and what you think you'd like to know about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So we have these two holidays, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and they come bookends. And now we'll just ask a simple, Rabbi, can you tell me the difference between the two of them anyways? Aside from the fact that one has better food, and unless you're eating sheep heads, as we learned today, at which point you might prefer Yom Kippur. But okay, so we'll start. Rav Simi, give you a chance.
Just very simplistic. This is how I think about it. It's very simplistic. I'm sure it's not 100% correct because Rosh Hashanah has like a myriad of different themes, but I sort of frame it in my mind as Rosh Hashanah is about asking for stuff, and Yom Kippur is about asking for life. It's like on Rosh Hashanah, it's being decided what our year is going to be like in terms of parnasa, in terms of health, and all the things of life, all the intricacies and the details of our lives. And Yom Kippur is like the Chaim v'Misa, that's the big decision that's being weighed at that point. So that's how I frame it in my mind. I'm sure I'm missing a lot, but that's how I think about it.
Rav White?
That's a big question. I guess I don't really view so much Rosh Hashanah as the time for Teshuva. That's more, in my eyes, the Yom Kippur. What I mean by that is that we don't really ask so much for forgiveness on Rosh Hashanah. It's mostly about, about Malchut, the crowning of Kadosh Baruch Hu, that we're recognizing ourselves that God is the ruler of everything. It's more of I guess, tshuva of our machshava, of our minds, to see in everything God is king. And only once we've actually realized that can we come to Yom Kippur and do tshuva, because we don't really know what to do tshuva for until we realize God is king and that He is in charge of everything in our lives. And then Yom Kippur is the time where we actually are now saying, okay, God, now that I know who you are, I need to beg for forgiveness.
Can I ask a question? Is that okay? I'm allowed to ask questions?
Of course.
So I hear that a lot. I hear what you're saying. Everybody says Rosh Hashanah is really about Malchios. It's not about Tshuva. It's not about like all these big decisions that God's making, judging us, and et cetera, et cetera. But if you look at davening, there's so much. When it's on a tokef, mi yichyeh and mi yamus, like it's hard to escape the reality that there's a theme in Rosh Hashanah of like there's big things being judged. I know we try to like escape that and powder over it and make it seem like it's only about like happiness and butterflies and rainbows and being crowning Hashem king, and it certainly is about that. But I don't know. I find like that's not really. If you look at the tefillah, there's a lot about like heavy stuff happening.
I think that it's more dafka the heavier things. The as I said, the tshuva of machshava of that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is judging us on everything, but it's not necessarily of the particular things, the particular sins that we're doing tshuva for. We're doing tshuva for the greater, the klali things, the general things, and those are more of how we view God, of the theological tshuva, if you want to say.
It means no al chet.
No al chet. We're not saying, God, I'm sorry for sleeping in today. I'm sorry for stealing from the cookie from my parents. I don't know. Whatever you want to. Hopefully, no one's actually doing real stealing.
But Gerzi's managed to avoid my question very cleverly, perfectly timed. Shnei ketvim machishim zeh when two contradict each other, we need a Ketuvah Shlishi, a third verse to make peace between them, Rav Gerzi. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur.
First of all, I just want to, I didn't say this before, but as we get started, it's new. I'm learning a tremendous amount, and I'm very appreciative of that. And as well to have all this chevra, Baruch Hashem. So, I don't know about making peace between them, but I don't think you have to. I think everybody, it's so multi-dimensional when we learn, when we go through the chagim, when we go through the sugyas. So my education is to go to the source. I always go to the source. So it's true in tefillah, it does speak about what you're saying, and it's very true. And if we look at the Chumash, all we know about Rosh Hashanah is we blow the shofar. We don't even know what the shofar is. Yom Teruah. I think for me, in my journey of Rosh Hashanah, if somebody would ask me what the difference is, I think Yehoshua Gerzi would answer something along the lines as that Rosh Hashanah is a time of recognizing that we are human beings and that we have choice, we have bechira. And what we do with our bechira makes a difference in this world. So what Rosh Hashanah was originally meant to be and then what it became was very, very different. Pre-Chet Adam and after Chet Adam, significant change occurred. So what happened is Adam Rishon did the treating bubu experience, and he turns around to the Rabbanu Shalom and says, I need a day of judgment. And it's very fascinating because you can very well ask, well, really, why don't we have the Yom Kippur before the Rosh Hashanah? Because there is a lack, when you brought it up, there is a lack of apparent Teshuva. There's no al chetz. And even Avinu Malkeinus, it's very interesting that according to certain minhagim, you don't even do Avinu Malkeinus. And the education that, and what the way I understand it in regards of differences is that you come as you are. Rosh Hashanah is coming as you are, and it's just recognizing within the human disposition we have choice, we make choice, we have bechira. And the Ikar of Adam, as the Rambam says in several places, is Bechira. And we're choosing, do I choose to crown the Rabbanu Shalom King or not? That, it's like Pasha. Do I choose to crown the Rabbanu Shalom King, or do I choose to be on the beach? I mean, that's the contrast. We could be anywhere we want. I choose to be here. I choose to accept myself as I am in my relationship with Rabbanu Shalom. So if I die, I die. If I die, I die. If I live, I live. And we have all these tefillahs, but really we want to live. It's all about living. It's not about deaths. Write me in the book of life. A Jew wants to live forever. We don't want to die. A Jew wants to live forever. However, it's recognizing the architecture of the human being and how we function and how life works. And that's Rosh Hashanah, a choice, and it's being with God's plan. I choose to tap into your plan, and I allow myself to, with my individuality, to dissolve into your plan. And then Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, which again shouldn't have been as it was. The expression of Rosh Hashanah, how we have it, shouldn't necessarily have Rosh Hashanah because of the Egel Hazav. So then we say sorry for our particular mess ups. But as well, what's interesting with Rosh Hashanah is that Al Pi Halacha Yom Kippurim, the day itself is Mechaper. So already coming to daven is more than I actually have to do, which is very interesting. So one of them's about, again, in my humble understanding.
You still have to come on davening, right? That was not it.
Yeah, that was not to come.
That was not a blanket. You're a punter for davening.
It's the fundamentals of man. The Rosh Hashanah is the fundamental of man. We're always a slave to something. Who do I choose to be a slave to? And Yom Kippur is, now that I've come to be witness to that, Tachlis, what do I do with it? Accountability, responsibility.
So I get always, this is one of these answers that when I hear it, I feel very small. I'm always a practical, rational, or pride myself pretending to be practical and rational. I don't know how well I do, but I try to pretend to be practical and rational. And for me, those people who've been in my share, anybody who's been in my share for 3 weeks or more, know that I will tell several times the study from Yale in 1960 of the graduates, and they asked them as you're graduating, did you write down a list of your goals? And 4% said yes. And they came back 20 years later, and they discovered that 4%, and this is graduates from Yale, this is not, Ithaca Community, Ryerson, Sheridan, Mountain Valley College, this is Yale. Those 4% had higher combined income than the other 96% combined. To me, Rosh Hashanah is all about, to me, Malchus is goal setting, just getting myself aligned where I want to be, what I want to be accomplishing, and it does what I want to be accomplishing, go with what God wants me to accomplish, and trying to make sure I've got both things on track. Yom Kippur, on the other hand, is, okay, here's where I failed. I didn't get on track this year. What are the things I have to do? Are there any questions from the audience for a quick break? Does anybody have a, please?
I was thinking about when I'm going to daven, and I know it's important to say everything, but at the same time, I also really want to understand what I'm saying. Do you think it could be possibly make sense to really zone in on one tefillah and then just skip ahead to the next one and really zone in, or just say everything, but be less meaningful each.
Okay. Who wants to start?
Sorry, just before I answer your question, what's your name?
Joe.
Joe. Nice to meet you, Joe. I think there's value to both of them. One, just saying the words of tefillah will have an effect. But at the same time, if you want tefillah to become meaningful to you for the rest of your life, then zoning in on, I think, one tefillah at a time. As long as you're doing all the necessary halachic parts of tefillah, is not just going to help you this year, but it will also help you for every year to come. And you will understand tefillah more for the rest of your life because of it. And I think because of that may be the proper way to go forward. I don't know if everybody agree with me, but.
Yeah, I say sometimes the only way to daven sometimes is to close your siddur. Sometimes you have to close your siddur in order to daven. So yeah, sometimes you have to slow down a little bit. I mean, I don't know if you have to text or receive the official psak halacha from Yeshiva, but if you ask me, yeah, I don't know why. Of course, Shulchan Aruch says better to do less with kavanah. Do I specifically talking about psak zimmer? But I think the principle, yeah, I mean, after 120 you get in trouble for that. You could blame me, but I would definitely do less with kavanah than to just run through the words just to be Yotzazayin. That's, I don't know. Ask the Rav. I'm not sure. Is that okay?
You got 3 yeses. We can go on to the next round of the of America's Got Kavanah. Okay, so
1 second.
I just would suggest, there's so much out there. You've got the Koran, you've got the Art Scroll, and several other English publications. Pick it up now. Pick it up. We started Elul time. We started to go through the slichos, to look a little bit at the slichot, to go through the machzah, and there's some, when you're in the game, you're in the game. When you can just spend 5 minutes looking through different parts, it's really emotional. There's some, who's going to die this year? It's not just words on pages. It's there to create an experience. Who's going to live? It's there to create an experience. Allow yourself to be moved by the narrative of the text.
You just reminded me of a great mashal I heard one time. That anybody here play golf?
I played golf.
You have played golf. You
Yeah,
play golf.
with my grandfather. I don't play. With my grandfather, I played golf. Yeah.
So apparently, when you play golf, nobody else plays golf. That's it. So you play golf?
I play cricket.
Okay.
I played golf. I played golf once, and they said that you're not supposed to. You do a slap shot. So I'm trying to bend over and see if I pull him over. Okay.
So when you play golf, apparently, when you're in like an actual like a real competition, you don't get to take practice strokes. And if everybody's going, like I take like 7 million practice strokes, and then no matter how many practice strokes I take, I just slam the thing into the ground every time. But like you're not allowed to take practice strokes. You have to do all your practicing beforehand. When you're in a competition, you get up to the ball and you hit the ball. I think that's like what Gerzi was saying is that's the game. It's a great mashal. That's the game. The game is we're going to be in Tefillah next Tuesday. So let's spend the time now going to the driving range to knock some balls to see if we could if we have our stroke ready to go. That's it makes a lot of sense to me. I agree.
Any other questions before we go back to our regular list? 1, 2. Okay, go. Donnie, and then you're close. I'm just gonna go from my left to right. So, question.
How do you become
Name because we don't know it.
Dove Greenberg.
Problem.
How do you become confident that Hashem accepted your tshuva over the course of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? How do you feel like after Yom Kippur? How do you know that it worked, so to speak?
My wife's family is a minhag to drink a glass of schnapps after Yom Kippur, Nevel Chaim. Now they make me drink for other reasons, but this is a nice minhag. And I've always understood it that Vayomer Hashem Salachti Kidvarecha, Hashem said, I'll forgive you according to your word. And the Ramban in Parshat Shlach Lecha there says, Moshe didn't think Bnei Yisrael were worthy of a full forgiveness, so he only asked for a partial forgiveness. Meaning that what Hashem granted them was in fact just a partial forgiveness. Implication, if Moshe had thought Bnei Yisrael were worthy and used all 13 Yud-Gimel Midot HaRachamim, then Hashem would have, even though it was the Chen Ragam, Hashem would have forgiven them entirely. Which means that if you believe the tshuva works, it works. If you believe that you're capable of change, you'll change. If you believe you'll become a better person, you will be a better person. Meaning that's the fun. And that's the most powerful thing. We say that Yud Gimel Midah Rachamim, but they come from Shemot. But we finish by Hashem Sach Tikvercha. If you believe it says Hashem, I believe. If you believe yourself, Hashem will believe you too. And that's why I'm sorry to bring that up, but it's just as a moderator, I'm going to turn it over to people smarter and better and wiser than I am. But that's just to me the beauty of, if you believe in Teshuva, it will, if you're like me and you're like, I've been doing the same mistake for every 15 years, it gets discouraging. 20 years, 35 years, 40 years. That gets frustrating, and I know, and maybe we'll talk about it a bit more, okay? But I think that's just my instinctive answer. So let me turn it over to people who are better than I am. Johnny?
Honestly, I don't really know how to answer that question so often. On the one hand, I do agree with Beasley, but on the other hand, I know myself. And make the same mistakes over and over again every year. And sometimes I do question that myself. How do I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is gonna forgive me? And I guess the only way I can answer that is, do you really think you did your best on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? Did you really pour your heart out? If you really did, then I don't think HaKadosh Baruch Hu is gonna say no. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu always answers our tefillah. It just might not be in the way that we want. In the Birkat HaChodesh that we say, Shabbat Mefarshim every month, we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to answer our prayers litova, for the good. So the Marsha, I think it's the Marsha, asks the question, what do you mean litova? So he answers that sometimes what we ask is not what's good for us. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always going to do what is good for us. He created the world. The world's based on chesed. If it wasn't for that, he would never have created the world. And even if HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't answer the way that we want, we have to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing what's best for us, even if we're getting punished. So in a way, God is always answering our prayers, on the one hand. And on the other hand, a lot of it is dependent upon you and how honestly you're going to change, or you have changed through your feeling.
We have to believe the process. The Rambam tells us what to do, and if you sincerely go through each step, we don't know HaKadosh Baruch Hu's cheshbonos. We never know HaKadosh Baruch Hu's cheshbonos. And even when depending on which opinion we go by, but even when we leave this world, we graduate to this world and we see the next world, we still don't know. We don't know. And I think it's learning to be okay with that. I think it's learning to be okay. I will never know what God knows. It's okay. All I know is my human experience. And as beautifully said, and I was going to quote that Ramban, beautiful Ramban, if we can turn around and say, yeah, I did. I'm going to change it. I'm not even going to say 100%. People say, you gave it 100%. I say, you gave 75%. 75%, you worked out, you tried 75%, we don't even know what the 100% is. People question, I should have given it more. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. You've got the Rabbani Shalom's cheshbonos, and then you've got us. We've got what God knows. I haven't got a clue what God knows. I don't even know. People ask, how do I know if it's a spiritual experience? How do I know if I had a spiritual experience? You hope so. It feels good. It works. I'm not doing something destructive. I've got my Rabbonim. I've got my friends. So I hope it was a good experience. We really don't know. And it's okay not to know. And I would share something. I've had the honor of speaking to lots of people. And it's this point that I feel personally that holds back so many people. They walk out of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur with doubt. There's no doubt. I was in shul Rosh Hashanah with friends. It was great. Enjoy the experience. Take the experience seriously. Take it seriously. Be with it. Yom Kippur, it's a serious day. Take it seriously and have derived pleasure from the day. Something very special about it. So I look at it very simply. I look at it like a child. I was present, I was here, nothing else to talk about. I was sincere, I tried, nothing else to talk about. I was with my friends, I placed myself in the right environment, nothing else to talk about. I believe it, sealed and done. That's it. And then move on with life in a healthy way.
Simi?
I can't top that.
All right. We'll pull questions back, just then we'll come back to Sam. Okay. Sorry, in the back. Who's in the back?
My name is Shlomo Silverberg. I was wondering, why do we have Yom Kippur if the Rambam says that that a regular seaboard dolphin can swim equally as much as Yom Kippur does?
All right, Simi, you get to go first this time then.
So why do we have Yom Kippur?
Yeah, if like a seaboard dolphin is equal to it.
I think that a couple things. First of all, I think that the Rambam is trying to elevate the importance of Tefillah B'tzibor, saying that it's how important is Tefillah B'tzibor that it's even on the Madrega of Yom Kippur. But I think that Yom Kippur has a very, very special place in Judaism. The Gemara says that on the happiest days of the year is there's a Gemara I was thinking about, maybe I'll quote over Rosh Hashanah, that there's discussion about why don't we say Hallel on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So the Gemara says, Sefer Chaim, Sefer Mason, Psuchim Lefanav, V'atem Omer Shira. God says, the book of life and book of death are open in front of you, and you're going to go ahead and sing. It's not a time for singing, it's a serious time. So the question is, what was the Havamina of the Gemara? What were the Malachim who asked the question? What were they thinking? Why would we say Hallel? What about Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur would even precipitate the necessity to say Hallel in the first place? So the Bali Musar explained that the miracle of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is the closeness that we could form with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That there's a certain closeness you could form with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and maybe specifically on Yom Kippur, but also on Rosh Hashanah, that's unique throughout the entire year. A day that's completely mufka, completely separated from the physicality of the world. A day that's completely isolated for spirituality. A day like Rav Gerzi mentioned, the Etzem Hayom is Metaher. Just the day itself provides a certain... It's a holy spiritual time, the holiest. So that's an opportunity that we don't want to... I wouldn't say, why do we have to do it? We could achieve it else. I wouldn't want to give that day up. Like, that's a special, unique day that everybody... You see it even around the world. You see Jews who are completely unaffiliated. Right? They go to shul on the high holidays. Like, there's something about that day that's holding on to Jews who aren't holding on to anything else. But there's something about that opportunity to reconnect with the Kadosh Baruch Hu that you can. And I think that's the joy, that's the simcha. When, like Rav Gerzi said, you take it seriously and you show up and you're present and you're in the moment and you're just there. I'm sure you guys have felt it. Right? You felt that feeling of like satisfaction, fulfillment in Yom Kippur, and you're like, why does this feel good? Like, why am I enjoying this? I'm fasting, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm bored, I've been in the shul for hours. But there's something about it that like you can't let go of. And that's all the Jews around the world feel that. They can't let go of it. Even if they let go of everything else, there's something about that day that like I can't let go. It has like a hold on me. So I think that it's a very special, unique opportunity and a special day that we kind of are like nervous about and we're like stressed out about. It's fasting and it's hard, but like deep down we're also kind of like a little bit excited. We a little bit feel like this is a really, really special day. And I don't think we would ever want to give that up.
All right, I'm going to just break here. When it goes against our rabbinical training, everything we've learned in yeshiva and everything we've talked about public, you know how to inspire people for in drashot. Quickly, your favorite song from the davening. Go.
Mari Cohen.
The tune, no, how's it? Can't remember it.
It's really good.
What's the tune for Unatan? It's okay. No, that's a Journey song.
I thought it was Beach Boys.
That's the new one.
Simi?
That's a good one. I tune. I think some of the tunes for Kedusha are my favorite. Like
Sherman, that's a good thing.
Very good.
Next question.
My favorite is actually, strange enough to me, the Kaddish before Musaf when the Chazan does Yid Gadal. For some reason, when I hear that and it's on a Yamin rhyme, my mind just turns. Perhaps it's having been Zochah to hear Rabbi Mital do it in Gush, and on a sleep. Just you hear the notes at the right time. It's a different, and I have trouble davening through 351 days a year. I have a very, very hard time with davening things. Still, all the discipline of repeating the same words over again. I hear that tune all of a sudden. It's the easiest thing in the world.
What's the tune that we do right before the beginning of Rosh Hashanah? Like the 999. Just right at the beginning. Yeah. Stop. That's good. So I'll tell you why I told you to stop. Because I once heard from a Rebbe at MTA. He said one time Talmidim in the class started singing that tune during the regular year, and he freaked out. And he said, "You're going to confuse all the malachim in Shemayim. You cannot sing that until Rosh Hashanah comes." So sometimes I find myself just randomly whistling that, and I say, "Oh, stop!"
Are we also confusing the Malachim?
Yeah, it could be Ma'ariv B'Satan.
We've been just confusing people Elo with their shofar. It's okay.
See, everybody, when you hear that tune, you're like, Yom and the Rhyme are here,
Okay. I'll ask another quickie. Favorite, I'm going to come to you next, all right? Favorite pasuk from, I'm going to, one more thing, we're going back to questions, and I'll ask two more questions to sum up. Favorite pasuk, or line from Tefillah, one line, okay? I know, I sympathize with Rav Sherman. I know that Shachrit for Chazaron Shots for Shachrit in the art school Machzor ends at 5:35, and for the first day and on the second day it's 5:85. I've counted. I've got that. I switched Machzors this year because I realized I was using the art schools as a way to measure exactly how far it goes. He's checking.
Found an Machzor over here.
Okay. Guys, read a Machzor Sunday. If you get one piece of advice, you just read a Machzor Sunday. I'm 585. What's 585?
585? Who am I borrowing over here?
That's the leather edition, doesn't count.
I'm after 584.
584.
Then one more.
That's Kaddish. And Kia Shofar.
Right, it's Kaddish, the end of Shmonat, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Kaddish, right before that we do the last 40 blasts of the Shofar.
Right. Unfortunately, I have that minhag too well. I can't remember page left. So, okay. Anyways, that gave you time for one puzzle, and it gave you chance. And
everybody knows that tune?
No.
Does everybody know what it means?
Yes, somebody else started because I'm toned down.
I change mode and I go back.
It sounds like the question. Favorite pasuk or line from Tefillah? Go.
I don't have.
Or line, yeah.
The end when it finishes.
Yeah, thank you.
I've got dyslexia, so words on pages.
In dog we trust.
In dog we trust. 100%. So I'm good with the truth. That was. I think I've just done my Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah.
Covered the beginning and the end of Musaf.
Rob Johnny.
Thinking the David Hashem Uri, there's a pasuk that goes Im Tachane alai machane lo yira li takum alai milchama bezot ani boteach. If a army camps against me, I will not fear, and if a war comes against me, I will trust in this. And question, what is in this I will trust. There's no answer to the. It's not pointing at anything. And I forgot who I heard this from, but it always stuck with me. It's a drush, but I like it anyway. That in this I trust is the very fact that we have this challenge, the camp that is camped against us, or the war that's against us, shows us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu believes that we can overcome the challenge. The very fact that we have the challenge shows that we can overcome it. And that's just something, it's a very powerful idea that I really like.
Can I say one thing about the tunes, about the singing on Yom Naraim? It's our responsibility to create the tefillah that we want to have. Right? It's not like you came into a yeshiva that has 100 or 200 older guys, and you're just like a unit of 60 or 70 Americans that sneak into the back. This is our tefillah, right? What we want a Yom Naraim to remember for the rest of our lives, what happened in Shana Aleph, is something you can remember for the rest of your life. But we have to create it. That means every guy's got to be here and has got to just let go of the inhibitions and the embarrassment and the cynicism that says I can't just let go and sing and be in the moment. We all are responsible to be in the moment, and every one of us has to be singing with all of our kavanos and all of our hearts. And then even a room like this that has terrible acoustics can be screaming from the rooftops, but we need to do it together. So I would just encourage everybody to come ready to go when it comes time next week, few days.
I would my favorite pasuk only because the first. I don't know how many people could say this. This is the first time I daven with kavanah. When I was just flipping through most stuff, to me the line of Ben Yikar Li Ephraim, Yash Hashuim, that Hashem says it doesn't matter how far you go, no matter how I don't forget, you're always welcome to come home. To me, that's the most beautiful line. It's from the most. I think the HaTorah, the second day of Rosh Hashanah, is the most beautiful HaTorah there is. I don't teach it because I don't know how to convey that sense of beauty to other people. I can teach it not by. There's something so special with that line, that whole HaTorah. Anyways, we have questions. A couple more questions, and I'm going to 1 and 2, and then I'm going to ask 2 more questions, and we'll get ourselves into a Rosh Hashanah, and we'll get ourselves a Yom Naraim boot together. Go, please. Name first.
Yisha Arhan. So
Hi, Yisha.
my question is on Rosh Hashanah. I know that there's a lot of planning in the future. So how do you stay realistic? So what your future goals are?
Goal planning, keeping goal planning realistic. You have 45 seconds each. We can go for a minute. Okay. Who wants to start?
There's an absolute value in being realistic, but I think we all need to also be optimists. So your goals are a bit crazy. If you don't make them, you're still going to accomplish a lot, especially when it comes to your Avodat Hashem. I don't think Avodat Hashem is a place to be realistic as opposed to optimistic. Shoot for the stars.
A bit of both. I say the same.
Yeah, I agree. What did Herzl say? What did he say? Right? You have to dream it. It's a Journey song. I'm quoting Journeys again. Journey song. Only dreamers still believe that dreams come true. You know that song? Yeah. Sometimes we're scared to imagine what could be. We're scared to think too far ahead. But
That if can I
Please.
I would say that's an important dynamic of Rosh Hashanah. A very, very important dynamic of Rosh Hashanah is recognizing that we have free will. And the free will that we have, and this is something which is very unique about the human being, which differentiates us from many other life forms, I think all life forms. And that is, we can dream something and then bring that dream into reality. We can dream something and dreaming into reality. And that's the responsibility of man. That's Rosh Hashanah. I'm living, I have a life, I'm using my free will to the max. There's a beautiful story that Reb Chaim Sanzer, a Hasidic master from 100 and plus years ago, and he tells over the story of a king and a prince. And the prince was a little bit of a troublemaker, and he was asked to leave the palace. And he went wandering, and over time his royal garb, it broke, it got destroyed, and he came to a certain town, and it looked odd, this mixture of royal attire and then all muddy and torn, and they said, listen, you look strange, you're going to be beaten up, so let's get you some pauper's clothes. And he got pauper's clothes, and he started to think about what he could do for work. And they asked him, like, what can you do? He says, nothing, I've been in the palace all my life, I can't do anything. So they said, listen, there's fields and we do planting, and maybe we can show you how to plant and be in the fields. And that's what he started to do. And then one season passed into the next season, and as this next season rolled in, which was summer, it was really hot. And he was very unhappy because he saw the other people farming, and they made little like umbrellas that they attached to their back that keeps the sun off. Now what happens is that the king would go visit the different villages and provinces, and there was a custom that if you threw something, you'd write something down on a piece of paper and you'd throw it into the king's carriage. And if it got into the king's carriage, he would look at it and he would bless you with that particular something. He would give you whatever you wrote. So anyway, what happens is that this prince, who by now has become very much a commoner, he hears about the king coming. And he writes his note, and as the day of the king coming occurs, he throws the note into the carriage of the king. And amongst all these notes, he picks up this note and he opens up the note and he recognizes straight away his son's handwriting. And again, he can ask whatever he wants. And what does he ask? Please, can I have a shade to keep the sun off my back? And the king starts to cry. He could have asked whatever he wants. He could have asked to come back home. He could have asked to come back home, and soul, goal setting and using your imagination. Think big. That's part of our free will. That's part of being a servant to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Think big, live big, get a lot done in this world.
I think it was Journey that said, dream on, dream until your dreams come true. I think it's Journey. No? Close.
I was so disappointed.
That's a good fight. Okay. All right. Another question. Sam, you've been so patient.
My name is
Ruben.
My question is, around like Elu, Tisha, everybody's like all getting in, oh, we have to be like so much better people. Like the student who's good for the last 3 classes before the report cards are given. Like, be good, so we'll be better. We'll get better. Like, it's not like Hashem sees all this. It's not. He always knows what's going on. It's not like he's more sort of towards the end of the year. Why do a lot of people only behave better? That's what they say. Towards everyone.
It's a great question. Can I just phrase it? See, I'm talking about phrase the same way. There's all these minhagim people take on during the Maseri Teshuva. Some people, there's a minhag not to eat pat abkum, that was normally permitted. People take out all these stringencies, and even what is the value, as it were, to pretending? Is there value to pretending, as it were? When in fact, you're not fooling God. You can fool a teacher a bit, but you can't fool Kadosh Baruch Hu. So is there value to taking on extra things that may or may not have lasting value? Simi?
Yeah, it's a great question. And a great explanation of the question. It's like, are we fooling God? We're trying to trick him. So I actually heard a beautiful idea once from Rabbi Yosef, a friend, about this minhag that we have that's brought down the Ramah about only eating pas Yisrael. Only bread that was cooked by a Jew, not by a non-Jewish bakery, which we generally do. But during a Aseret Shemei Teshuva, there's a minhag only to eat bread pas Yisrael. So the question, like you said, like Ruben said, okay, so we take all this chumrah for 1 week to fool God into thinking that we're really frum, and then as soon as Aseret Shemei Teshuva is over, Yom Kippur's done, we go back the way we were. So Rabbi Fran said, we're not trying to fool God. It's okay, the building's falling down. So he said, we're not trying to fool God.
In preparation for a better or bigger,
bigger base measure. So he said, we're trying to convince the same commitments, and you never really change. And every year we come right back to where we were, and we begin to believe that we no longer have the capacity to change. And what we do is we take on extra things during this time. We push ourselves a little more, not to fool God that we're something that we're not, but to convince ourselves that we can do more, we can be better. And not to fall into this belief that like we're stuck, we can't get better, we can't move, we can change. No matter where you are in life, no matter how long you've been set in a certain way, you always have the ability to improve. So that's Rabbi Fran's take on it, and I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Question?
I don't know if I could have phrased it better than that, so let's leave it.
So it could be, I'm saying, it, with what I'm going to say, I think it's saying the same in a slightly different way. Okay?
It's fine with me, it's Rabbi Fran. You gotta take it up with him.
That we can't necessarily think our way to change, but we can definitely act our way to change. We can't always think our way to change, we can act our way to change. And as we were speaking about, sometimes it's a little bit of a back and forth, but sometimes we take on goals that end up getting lost because we slide back into a previous behavior. So the reality is we take on something for a few days, that's it. No more expectations, no more expectations than the fact, you know what? For this amount of day, I'm going to act like this. And then afterwards, that is it. You can't help but changing a little bit after you go back to your, what you would call normal. There's no way you can go back to 100% of the way you were after the 10 days of repentance if for 10 days you concentrated on something. So the goal is, I'm not going to change forever. It's not faking God out. It's saying to the Rabban Shalom, listen, I know me. I can, like many other people, hold something out for 10 days. And for 10 days I'm going to do this particular something. I'm going to enjoy it. And then afterwards, there's a cutout. There's a dead end. I'm going to go back to how I was before. However, as we said, you'll never ever go back to the way that you were before. You would have, by definition, changed a little bit. And that's okay as well. I think that's something, micro bites of conscious activities.
I guess it's almost like, I would say to phrase it just in two words, muscle memory.
Muscle memory, yeah.
You create, I guess it's sort of the same way when you do an act, and and if you do an act, it's there in your muscles, and then there's certain things that instinctive years later, whether and maybe just creating a muscle memory is what's important. All right. Well, any more questions, or we'll have one final. Then I'll ask the final question. Okay. A question, please.
On Yom Kippur,
That's a long name. Hi, Robert.
If on Yom Kippur we're meant to be have such kavanah and everything, but we're sitting in Yeshiva for hours on end, how are we meant to keep up such kavanah on all these days for such a long time?
The tension between kavana and the fact that Yom Kippur is a long day. Okay. Who'd like to start? Or you just both all been sitting here a long time and it's
Not a very long time.
Okay.
Take a walk. I don't know. I always take a walk in Yom Kippur at least once. Walk around. I always go. Don't bother me. This is my private time. But I always walk out during the Elah, just as the sun is setting over here over the park. And I leave my sitter. Really, don't come and follow me, okay? I don't need more people there. So I just go. I'm just kidding. You can come. You can join me.
Time.
I go out, I have my talis on, I have my kittel on, I go out over here every year, and I sit there for 10, 15 minutes, talk to Hashem, think a little bit. During Musaf, I walk a little bit. It's usually hot during the day, so I don't want to walk outside too much and get dehydrated, but I don't know. If you need to take a break, walk around. I don't know.
Can I just re-emphasize, this is early, it's going to be hot, and drink for the few days beforehand, okay? Just as a very practical, down-to-earth suggestion, don't find yourself being dehydrated on Kippur is no fun. Forget the halakha questions. It just takes away from the experiences. The human body can naturally fast for a day. It's not particularly difficult. It really isn't so hard. We make a big deal of it. But water we need, so make sure you're drinking. Okay. Rev Johnny?
It's something that everyone struggles with. Everybody. I think that it has to do slightly with what Joe's question was earlier. As in, sometimes, go more into depth on one tefillah that you found interesting, someone caught your eye, don't ignore that. Go with it. If you need a sefer by your makom, have a sefer by your makom that you're going to enjoy learning. Don't be ashamed of it. I think all of us do it. It's natural, and every year I get a little bit better.
Speak for yourself. I never distract myself with a sefer. I'm just focused 150% the whole time.
Unless you're walking.
Unless I'm taking a walk.
I would come at it from a slightly different angle, and I would say it's human nature, and it's okay. It's okay. We're going to have ups and we're going to have downs, and that's part of the deal. And I'll say something that may sound strange, that if somebody would focus all day long, they're not being a human being. It's meant to be ups and downs. It's a human experience. And when we catch ourselves, and when we don't, we don't. It's part of the experience. It's okay. I think sometimes the downs, there's a lot of things going on inside. I may not be consciously aware of them, but there's a tremendous amount that's going on inside. Processing on a soul level, on a psychological level, a subconscious level. So as much as we want to try, it's going to happen, and that's part of the human experience, and that's part of being a human being. I may be wrong, but that's what I would suggest.
I'll just add, the largest book in every section in every bookstore, when they had bookstores, was cookbooks. The second largest is self-help. So every year I buy myself a new self-help book, and I think my favorite was a book called, it's not time management, it's energy management. Meaning a beautiful idea that you have to plan, you have to recognize the ups and downs, when you're focused, when you're not focused, when you've got energy, when you can have kavanah, and when you can't. And you got to plan your day accordingly. There are things that I do, okay, I know I'm not feeling great this morning, so I spent it doing a lot of errands back and forth, and that require no particular intellectual strain. So I think davening's the same way. You have your ups, if you can focus, if you know that, okay, this feeling works for me, I apply work towards that. Final question, then we will have one final quick emphasis on the word quick thought from the Rebbeim. The final question comes from Shonabet in the corner. All right. Yishai, hi.
Hi, Yishai. So I've heard talk that Listerine strips are mutter on Tisha B'Av because the didn't apply also to Yom Kippur due to the more stringency of the day.
Which flavor? I don't know. Okay.
So, I have absolutely heard talk like that. For example, that some rebbeim matir gum also. You're not really eating anything chatzi shir, although chatzi shir is still aser, but whether it would be considered achila or not. If it's something which is very, very pressing to you, talk to your posek. If not, you probably should stay away from it.
I'm not a posek, so I'm not going to answer it. That's why we have the Lev HaTorah halacha group,
Yeah,
and
text,
I do the...
I think whoever has a index of the text group, I think that question is in there somewhere.
Okay.
You
All right.
can search in there. Yeah, look for Listerine strips. Or Receive will be here in like 10 minutes.
But it's interesting. I do know that Rav Rimon does encourage people to take a Som Kal pill, an easy fast pill.
Oh, yeah.
If again, is it the ideal thing? No. But if it means that you're able to daven better, as opposed to if there are people for it, then given that give and take, clearly the goal is not. I mean, let's not. As you said, we don't like sugar out. There is a mitzvah of vanitim. All right, it's not supposed to be easy, but we don't have to make it unbearable in a way that we aren't able to, that we're lying, that we're unable to function, and especially in tefillah. I don't, So, but I'll leave that as a open. So, final. I've had one thought in my mind that's been circling as I go into this. I've been listening to shir after shir, trying to get myself prepared for, and I heard somebody say something which I thought was interesting, and it's been my focus for this year. And that is and I'll say it in 30 seconds, and I challenge the Rebbeim to pick up one thought that they can do the same. And that is, there's a difference between sins of temptation and sins of automation. This is a thought that I've been having, meaning 95% of the times I'm not really tempted to do anything, even though we talk about, oh, it's always that unkosher food that smelled so good I couldn't wait or whatever. Rather, most of our sins are really just habits, because we are creatures of habit. And knowing how to break habits, and even better, knowing how to form new habits, which you guys have the most amazing thing, because one of the things I do once in a while is I change. Okay, I'm going to sleep on a different side of bed, or I'll get out on a different, so I see something different in the morning. That creates your brain is like, well, what am I doing here? So even that alone is enough to provoke a whole new series of changes. You guys have this whole new year. It's not the same bedroom they've been in since 3 months and months and months, and then and habits you can create new habits. Any habits you haven't done anything for a month here. You have such an opportunity to create great habits, to say, okay, how I'm getting up in the morning, how I'm going to do things, and it doesn't have to be the same way. That's my thought on what I'm trying to think of these days. How do I break habits, create new habits to make myself more successful and more worthy in Kadosh Baruch Hu's eyes? What are your final thoughts going in? That was more than 30 seconds, but try to do better than me. It's a bad habit of mine. Okay. We'll start with Rav Simi.
Having thought long and hard about this for the last minute, I would say very simply, I would recommend. I like to do always. Anybody who comes to my house first night of Rosh Hashanah, I always ask people to pick up a New Year's resolution, but something very small, very limited, and something that's like reasonable. So it's famously brought down. There's a famous story that Rav Shach, who was a Rosh Yeshiva of Panovich, who knew Kol Torah Kula, that he famously committed himself one year to bench from a bencher. That was his commitment for the year. So his Talmidim were like, Rebbe, you surely know benching by heart. He said, yeah, but, and he said, to bench from a bencher when I'm at my house. When I'm benching at my kitchen table, I'll bench from looking inside as opposed to doing it by heart. And the point of the story, it's a very, very small, tiny commitment. But I encourage people to maybe think, Rosh Hashanah, what's a small commitment everybody could take on to create a habit of looking to grow and looking to improve. So that's one, little one eighth I have. Something small though, reasonable.
Gerzi?
Every single person is different wants, different needs. So the word that comes to mind is relevant. So as we go through these days, the word that comes to me is make it relevant. You have this wonderful opportunity. Make it relevant. Prepare yourself, think about it, and be with it. Be with it to the best of your abilities, all the way through for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. And as we said, sometimes there's highs, there's lows. And as Rabbi Beasley says, when there's a high, take it, use the energy. When there's a peak, use it for good.
Something I've been thinking about recently, that one of the ways that we normally think about tshuva is about specific things. What can I change in a very precise way? I'm going to stop doing this action, start doing that action. I think that is in some way the later stage of tshuva. That I'll get just through a mashal. When someone's searching for gold, right? There's a process of searching for gold. At first, you take a sieve that has much bigger holes in it, and then you shake. You shake it until you get the bigger pieces of ore, of dirt that may have gold in it, and then you take a smaller one. And each time you get the smaller pieces until you've cleaned out all the gold from the dirt. And if not, if you go to the fine one at the beginning, you never get anything out of it. You get maybe a little few pieces of dust out of the bottom. I think it's the same thing with tshuva, that if you start too detailed, you won't do tshuva. Sometimes you have to start from the big picture, and I think that's the best way to start. At this stage, go into the details so much as you are into who is it that you want to be in a greater sense. Once you have that image, then you can get more precise.
There are two people here who deserve our Hakara Tov, our appreciation. All right, Binyamin and Berger, thank you very much for coming early, setting up, recording this. Other people who aren't here, Rebbeim, alumni live for these panels. We'd like to do them. We'd mix up the personalities, mix up the people. We'll do this more and more. I know that for every time I finish one of these panels, I learned every time. I learned from every person I listened to, and I regret speaking at all because every time I was speaking means it was a lost opportunity, a chance to hear Rav Johnny, Rav Gerzi, Rav Simi. Really a tremendous opportunity. I want to thank all of you very much for coming and for sharing with us. For the guys who came in question, for those of you who are here, it's a different. It's not much fun. It's still, you're not learning, you don't have the book open. But hopefully you get different viewpoints, different approaches, different tactics to make this Rosh Hashanah meaningful, to make Yom Kippur meaningful. And we should all have a Gemara Chatima Tova. Thank you very much. Barb will be at 9:30. If you want something to do for the next 10 minutes, we have them officers over here to look at. Or just sit down, take a piece of paper, give yourself downtime. Get up and stretch, take a walk. For a follower of Simi, he'll show you the managed play.
I'm not going to show you.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, everybody, and have a